Hello everyone, this is Christy with Rustic Fire Creations. I am here to walk you through how I make this miniature robin bird. So first I'm just going to show you everything I used to put it together. So the wool that I have, this is our foxy coat, it's Romney. Then I have some of our seal core wool. And then I also used our newest wool that we have in. This stuff is really nice. It's alpaca. So I used the light tan and the deep brown. We only have the two colors right now. I wanted to see how much I liked it and how much I thought you guys would enjoy it. And I am definitely going to be adding more colors to the stock. It's just natural, undyed wool. But it felt really nice and it's just soft. So those are the colors that I used for it. Hand carders. If you don't have hand carders, it's not a big deal. You can either use, so it's these two colors blended together is what I use the hand carders for. So you can find something that's close to this color if you have it. Or you could use a dog brush, works, or it's so little, there's so few, you don't use very much of this wool, so you could also just use your hands. So also glass eyes. You could just use, you don't have to have the glass eyes, you could use some black wool and then do a little fleck of white wool in there to make it work. Our other new product that I'm using is our precision craft glue, the Begley Art Precision Craft Glue. And then for his feet, I am using galvanized steel wire. This is 28 gauge, so really, really thin. Floral tape for his feet. And wire cutters. Let's see, and then I also used like a really strong glue to get these feet on. Normally I do like a U shape and then I wrap this wool around the U shape to make the feet. Instead I just glued these guys in there, and I'll show you, we'll do that closer to the end. When it's that small, so far it's just been so fiddly to get that shape around that little U, like the wool around it, easily without getting frustrated. So instead, I've just glued them on, and it works. I mean, if you use a strong enough glue, they're not going anywhere. They wiggle a little, but they're not gonna come off. And so what I did at the start is I used some of the Foxy Coat, and see, I grabbed too much at the start. It doesn't take much wool, and I'm just kind of manipulating it into the shape I want with my hands. So pretty close. I mean, it's like an almond shape, and then a little round at the top. Needle wise, I'm using 40 gauge and a 42 gauge. So small project, small needles. 42 gauge, I don't use quite as much on this one, but it definitely, for small detailed parts, is very helpful. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to felt until I get somewhat of an almond shape, and then the little rounded head shape part. And then add wool where you need to. And I used a very small amount. I mean, it was probably that much wool, which would be like 4 inches times 1 inch worth of the Foxy coat. Alright, so I'm going to just finish up getting this shape, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the next step. So I felt at the shape that I, well, the wool that I had, and started creating this little almond shape. I'm going to add some more wool now to continue getting the shape I want. So this part's going to be added to kind of shape that head more. Going miniature, you definitely want to just go with little bits of wool at a time. Too much and your needle felt project will just grow immensely in no time. Alright, I'm going to give it just a little bit more of a hump back here. It's got a little dip. So this is my current process for making miniatures, well, at least for this little bird. It's probably going to change. I mean, not this felting part and not getting the shape and everything, but some of the little details and how I do the legs. I mean, it's a constant change for me, really, because I find easier ways to do it. So I try and keep you guys informed of these changes. Usually it's comes about in a new tutorial, whether it be a video tutorial or one of our kits. I don't actually have any kits yet for miniatures because I've only just really started diving into this miniature world. And I want to make sure I have it right before I go about actually making a kit for you guys. Of course, like, this could be a kit if we really wanted it to, but I mean, it's only a couple pieces of, you know, colors of wool, so it's not much. And then the wire and glass size and stuff. So, I mean, it could be a kit, but I think as is, if you want to buy the stuff or if you have it on hand, then you're good to go. I'm taking a sip of coffee real quick. It's still kind of early while I'm doing this video. So that's about the shape that you want. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start blending the wool to get our top coat wool for the feathers. You can see this wool has very few, but it has some small pieces of debris in it, but so few that it's not even a complaint, really, in my mind. I do have some alpaca brown, if you're looking on the site, that has quite a bit more debris on it, and that's on sale. This stuff is from a different person, and it is so much higher quality. So you want more brown, definitely, than the deep brown than the light tan in there. And then I'm just going to card it, blend it all together, and I'll keep blending that. It won't take long, but I'll do that and then I will show you the next step. Alright, so all blended together, and then I'm going to felt this flat. Actually, yeah, I have to think about which way I want to go. Sometimes I felt it flat, and then I cut out the pieces, and then sometimes I just make the shape and felt those flat. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just, because it doesn't need much. So, the other thing I did forget to mention that you could use, but it's not a necessity, and I wasn't going to use it on this one, but if you want these wings and the tail feather to be really flat, you can use an iron. So I'm making one of the wing shapes. So what I'm going to do as I make it, I'm going to stick it next to the body just to see if I'm on to the right size. So it's pretty close, except for the fact that there's a lot of extra up here, which is fine. So that'll be felted in. This alpaca, I was a little nervous because sometimes like super soft wool doesn't felt very easy. Like it's really just best for top coats and whatnot, but even this alpaca, I used it for the core and the top coat on a miniature donkey, and it did great as the core. It's close, but it's a little big still. So I just kind of fold in the edges if it's too big. It was also nice because like when you felt it, sometimes certain wools like this Romney that I used, it does pretty good, but because it's a lower micron, so it's a little softer, but if it's a thicker micron and you're felting it, you tend to get more indents in the wool from your needle. But this stuff really doesn't, it felt super nice. Okay, yep, that's a great size right there. So to make a similar sized wing, I'm just gonna take the one I have and felt around it, trace it with my needle. There's a little extra here I need. And then you can fold in the edges around that trace. That's just an easy way to get two things that are similar in size. extra hole here. So they're getting there. I'm gonna felt those more, but I'll do that off camera so you're not having to sit and watch as I just felt away at those. And then a little miniature tail feather. Should be a bunch of feathers, but since it's so little, we're going with just one. And then, of course, compare the size on that and make sure it's about what you want. It looks pretty good for the end part. So I'm gonna continue felting these off camera, and then I'll hop back on and we'll put them on, and then we'll start adding more features. Alright, so now I have the wings, tail feather ready to go, so I'm going to go ahead and place those on. So I'm leaving a little bit off the back. And this is going to come all the way up to the head. It's okay if you didn't make it quite that long, because I'm also going to add some more of that deep brown wool to add a little variety in there that'll go over the head. Then add the wings. And you want those to come down just a little bit from the head. But you don't want to like felt them completely to the body. You want a little bit coming off there. Do the same on the other side and kind of compare placement. Alright, so that is where we're at so far. Up next, we're going to make a little tiny beak. So just take the smallest little bit of the black core wool. This is our seal black Maori wool. Super tiny. So on this robin bird, all I did was I just felted the wool like this. I have been using the precision craft glue sometimes for the beaks, but I didn't really see the need in this one. But if you wanted to and you have the glue, go for it. It definitely does help with the process. It's nice because it makes it so that you don't have to needle felt it quite as much. It gives it a little extra shine and texture when it's fully dry. All right. Pretty good. All right. Now that we have the beak there, I'm going to take some of the deep brown alpaca, and I'm going to belt the brown all the way down to the beak from the top of the head. And I'm going to make it go across the same length as the beak. And then I'm going to pull it down to about like that. And then do the same on the other side. You might have to add more wool if you don't have enough of the brown there. And then fold it down its back. Alright, there's that. Now we're going to add eyes. Oh, I bumped the camera there. So I have 2 black glass eyes. So what I would like to do with the glass eyes, they usually come with a little bit more wire on the end than I want. So I cut off the extra. You don't have to. You can make deep holes in your felt to get that wire through, but I prefer to just cut and use the glue. So I am going to make, of course, a little hole so I have a good idea of where I want it. And then make sure you compare on the other side. Okay. Now I'm going to take the precision craft glue. It's a little, it's a little fiddly. And it dries clear, which is great. So if you get extra, no big deal. I think I got extra there, but it's going to disappear as it dries. Plus, this glue is super nice because even as it dries, you can poke a needle through that and you don't have to worry about your needle getting gummed up. Get right where I want it. Oh no. Add just a little more glue on there because that one lost a lot upon transfer. So with this glue, every time I use it, afterwards I take, this is the tip kit, so there's different size tips for different projects, and I just clean the end. And then it's good to go for the next project. Okay, so then I'm going to add a small amount of the light tan to the very bottom part here. Doesn't need much. And then to blend that in, I'm going to take a little bit of the rest and kind of layer it on the line of where the tan was added. Okay, so our last step for the bird is to make its feet. This can be a little challenging, so I go big to start. So I'm going to cut a wire that's probably about 2.5 inches. Then I'm going to cut some smaller wires. Gosh, that's about more closer to 3 inches. Then I'm going to cut some 2-inch wires. Now this is just all approximate. It's not perfect because I'm going to trim these down a lot. But it's so much easier to start big with these. So this is for 1 foot. So then I'm going to do for the second foot the same thing. Okay, so put these ones aside. Gather your 3 shorter wires and your bigger wire, and then take your bigger wire. So you want all 4 hanging down. Take your bigger wire and twist it around, and then separate 3 in front, 1 in back. And then you can trim some of this. This is going to get trimmed even more, but just so you have an idea. Like that. And then do the same with the other foot. If you need to, you can squeeze the wires so they're together and tighter. Okay, I'm going to step away for a second because I need some scissors. Alright, so back here, move my extra wires. Up next, you want floral tape. I have dark brown for this one. I mean, that black too would be perfect. And then, if you cut this floral tape into about 1/3 or 4ths, even if you can get that thin, it makes it a lot easier for wrapping it. Okay. Now I just took off a chunk of the floral tape. It's not very much, but if I need more, I just take off more. And then I'm just gonna wrap the floral tape. I like to start on the leg itself and then work down . You don't have to go to the end of the wire because it's going to be cut. Just make sure you wrap enough that it's going to be the right size. So then I rip it off and I start again. If I went back and then went on to the other talons, it would get too big too fast, like too thick in size. So I found if I just rip off, it's a lot easier. So I have enough left on this. Alright, there's one. I'm gonna hop off the camera for a minute and do the other one, and then we'll trim them down and put them on. Alright, so I have the 2 legs, or feet, and I'm gonna trim them down to size. So they don't need to be big at all. I mean, small bird, small feet. Then you can give them all a little turn here. Oh, sorry, I'm off camera as I do that. Then compare, make sure the size is going to work. Make sure you're getting about the same size as the other one. All right. So this one looks like it's a little bigger. I'm gonna just trim it down a little tiny bit more, not much. All right, there we go. So the very last thing is that you just glue these in place. So like I said, I'm using a really strong glue. Get the fuzzies off there. Add it to the tip. And then you want to kind of stick it in there. Hold it in place. Alright, so that's pretty much everything I did for the little robin bird. I'll get this up, of course, YouTube, and then It'll be on the website with the supply list if you've found it there. Yeah, this is really all there is to it. If you have any questions, message me, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you can see anytime we post a new video. Also, I do recommend subscribing to our email list if you haven't already, because I try and let the people on the email list know before anyone else about new videos, new items, and they're always the first to know about sales. All right, there is the little tiny robin bird.